going to go ahead and get this show started. My name is Juanita Johnson, and I'm the chairperson for the 24th Street Coridoro Alliance. Kay Lepore is our vice president, along with Tanya Cooper, also a vice president. I'm going to remind everyone that our motto or our vision along the corridor is to increase commerce. That's what we're here for. So all of our discussions is surrounded about trying to get a number of businesses to come up and down, spur up and down the corridor from Cummings all the way down to Ford. Today we have two guest speakers. One, Manny, he's a subject expert on mapping. And he's going to talk about, or he's brought us a map, and he's going to discuss the area that we're focused on.
Right.
And we as a group are going to do some table talk about what we'd like to see in the future. Then when he's done, he has another visitor here, and I don't know your name, I apologize. But he's an artist, and if you would say your name for us.
My name is Ariane Lawrence Williams. Everyone calls me Bird.
Bird, okay. So he'll be coming to us next. So without further ado, I will turn the floor over. Please remember our courtesy rules as far as turning our phone off to vibrate. And if we have to take a phone call, please step out, maybe outside because it's warm enough, and take your call. Thank you so much.
Does anyone want any coffee? All right. Cool. So then I'll get it started. So basically, what I was hoping to do today is map out areas, like our assets within the area, especially around 24th and Lake area. This could be businesses that you think are beneficial to the neighborhood the way they are. This could be public spaces. It could be like parks. It could be, basketball courts. It could be anything that you really think of. So we're going to start with that part, and then we'll move on to areas that you think could be improved, or just ideas that you have for the area. And then last, we'll talk about some of the problems. So, let's see. I'll put one dot where we are right now. It's going to be a blue dot, and we are, let me see here. Right here. And then, so, can anyone think of like a business or a public space that you think is an asset or benefit to this area, 24th area? Go on. Theater space? I mean, we're going to start with what we have right now.
Oh, one that is beneficial. Right?
Yeah, one that is already an asset or benefit.
You got to get your verbs right for me.
Gotcha.
I say the elk hall.
The elk talk? All right. That is here, 24. It's right on Lake. Gotcha.
The Fairfield Village Marketplace.
Right on. Got that.
The Snowball right here on what street is that down there?
24th and Willis.
And where?
The cooler Snowball, 24th and Willis.
Yep, just a lot south of Union.
Okay. Oh, gotcha. Snowball. Yeah. All right.
OEDC.
OEDC. And we'll take our time a little bit because Chris was writing these down, so I have notes on each dot. So, OEDC. Gotcha.
Omaha Star.
Omaha Star. That's number 5.
Civic Bryant Center.
Yeah. You mean the building or the court? Court. All right.
The Union.
Mm-hmm.
The Union?
Yep.
Right.
Frontier Bag.
That's fine.
Union's number 7. And then Frontier Bags?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
That's on Plant.
Gotcha.
Right across from the church.
Gotcha. You got that one, Crystal? Okay.
Love that.
Love Jazz? All right.
Omaha Small Business Network.
Gotcha.
24th and Lake.
Yep.
OSBN.
And the
It's far back.
northeast.
This business.
Just one might be hard to map, but I would
LaFleur,
like to mention is that there's good lighting. I was driving down 24th at nighttime the other day, and it was nice to light.
LaFleur's New Look.
I'll put that as 11. I'll just put it on 24. The floors.
Save the best for last there.
Got that?
Would you say your
No.
thing, Charlie? Oh, you already said that.
Mount Moriah.
Mechanic shop right there.
Right here?
Mount Moriah.
People there.
The
Mount
gas
Moriah.
station.
So mechanic
Gas
shop?
station. What about the tile company?
Tile company.
I don't know
That's,
the name of it. Help.
it's right here.
Oh, we also have the telemarketing, right?
The tile company. It's this one right here on like Burdette, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes,
Okay, sorry.
North End?
What's
North
that?
End?
North End Teleservices.
Okay, where's that at?
That's right.
Right
The
by
next
the
block.
24th and
By
Franklin.
Family Block. Block.
Actually,
South.
24th and
24th
Hamilton.
Hamilton. That's right off the map, but I'll put it down here, and then
Oh,
it's fine. We'll make a note of it.
And
It's only
Styles.
as big as the map can be.
Styles of Evolution is on 24th and Ohio.
24th and Ohio.
And so is Mount Moriah across the street.
Gotcha. So
Fish and
Mount
Go.
Moriah is
It's up
number
to the building
17, and then what was the?
Styles of
Did you get Fish and Go?
That's right across the street, right?
Oh.
Okay. Cool. All right.
Fish and Go.
Oh, Get and Go.
Get and Go, is that what it
Yeah,
is?
yeah,
That's-
Get and Go, that's
Oh,
right.
gotcha.
Right.
That's on Franklin.
Franklin, yeah, 24th and Franklin.
You didn't hear me.
that's Ohio.
They're both on ground.
Cool.
Okay, so then we also have the Learning Community Center,
I'm sorry.
the Learning Community Center.
Gotcha. Right down
It's
here.
off the map too.
And
Just
Get-
right on the edge of the map. Right on the
Yeah,
edge.
and Get and Go is another business too.
You said get and go?
Get and Go.
Remind me of like it's like right.
It's
on-
right 2 doors down.
2 doors down. That's number 19.
What about Skeets?
So,
Signage.
for sure.
In the body shop, B Street. Yeah, B Street. B Street.
All right. What, you know where that's at?
24th and Hamilton.
24th and Hamilton.
This right.
Right.
Right over here. Like, is it off? I'm gonna put it right in that.
Is that Centos right there?
That is. Let's see.
No. Okay, that's Franklin.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's Centos.
So it's right over here. All right. So body shop is 20.
Oh, that's
What's the name of the
You
store
got
on
Habitat for
Ohio?
Humanity.
Right.
Habitat?
Habitat, and then we also have Census.
Yeah.
What was the last one?
Center.
That's why
Oh
I just
yeah,
thought
right
it
there
was
as well.
Centos.
I'll put it right next to it.
What about that store on Ohio? Where is that?
Pinpoint place.
Talk about the Ohio clothing store.
Right. Styles of
He
Evolution.
already
You got that
called it
already?
out, yeah.
I'm gonna put that just on the street and we'll just say the barber shop.
Yeah, like.
Yeah, and then the one barbershop has the radio station on top of it.
Right. I know where that one is.
Yeah, that's
Right there.
Right there.
I'll put
So then did
what's
you
it
go-
called?
Family housing.
Family housing. Hold on, let me get the barber
Oh,
shop
that's
with the
true.
radio station is
Which is also.
Unique Cuts,
isn't
right?
that
Unique cuts,
24?
right?
Right.
Yeah.
Family Housing and Advisory Service,
That's what
FHAS.
it is, right? Family housing. Where's that at?
24th and Lake.
24th and Lake.
It's on that.
Gotcha. You didn't point it out?
South side.
You want me to take the dots?
Yeah, you can take the dots. I mean, if you have a spot, you can come get a dot and put the dot on it too.
That on the spot.
Yeah. All right.
Oh, did you get the learning?
Learning Center.
Yeah, you got
Yeah.
that, okay.
Trying to think of what
Did you
else.
say anything about McDonald's oncoming?
Yeah,
Sorry?
McDonald's.
McDonald's? I'll
Okay.
put a note on it. 26 McDonald's are coming.
And we also have the Creighton.
Creighton, down on Cumming.
Mhm.
So Creighton,
Great Plains.
Great Plains Black Museum.
that's 28, Great Plains.
It's in the same building with OESC.
Yes.
Right.
Just set
Yeah,
it
it's
right
like
on
now.
top.
Mhm.
All right.
I don't know what else is down, Miss Ella, in your area.
Well,
What business?
we did one with Miss Ella.
He's not going in that area. He's stopping at next week.
Mhm. We did
Oh.
a couple with Miss Ella.
Okay.
You got
Oh, he's
Boboy
stopping at
Auto.
Lake Street. Okay.
Yeah.
Boboy Auto.
Full Boy Auto,
And there's another one.
right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not
That's
Miss
29. I brought
There's
down the
another
dots.
on Maple.
Austin Automotive.
You already got that.
Oh, you got Austin.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
There's
And then
another
there's
car
a
sales
photography
thing right
place.
across the street over in here somewhere.
And there's a photography place right on 24th and 24th and Work.
Work to work.
Right on the east side of the street.
Austin's.
It's right after.
Austin, but that's beyond where the area he is.
Where were you going to?
About Benny.
This is
Right,
Okay.
right up to Benny.
Okay, well then it's past me.
No.
Yeah.
It's a block past me.
This is my last good dot.
Okay.
So I'm gonna put this
So
on
is it
there.
Are we just
Schools
looking
or-
for business
yeah.
discount eyewear?
Or
Discount eyewear?
24th and Mid.
24th and bid. I need another dot now.
Oh,
I got more. Don't
Oh,
worry.
okay.
What's that over there? Sacred Heart, you know,
Or yeah, Sacred Heart.
Food away on the front.
The
Yeah, right on
pantry.
the front.
Heart Ministry Center.
Yeah, Heart
Yeah, the
Ministry.
ministry.
All right.
The pantry is on 24th.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's right on 24th across from Discount Highway.
OSBN building, anybody say that?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we got
It's
that.
got a dollar.
All right, and you said discount eyewear, right?
Correct.
All right. What's the address?
24th and Mid.
Benny. Can you come point it out? Like Friday. This is 24th Benny.
This is Benny. It's on 24th.
And it's on the east side, the west side of the
Right.
street.
Yeah. It's a strip
Right.
of buildings. Yeah, correct.
All right.
Yeah. And then directly across the street is Sacred Heart Ministries.
It's the Heart Ministry Center.
Gotcha. So 32 Sacred Heart. Good on all the like assets and that sort of thing. Anyone think of any like parks or like places that you like to hang out outside that aren't necessarily businesses?
Well, we have the Mildred strolling park, and we also have the
The Greenland Plaza.
correct.
So
But those two items, but they're not considered parks. You
but
know.
or public spaces where you hang out outside. So 33 would be the Mildred Brown. And
It's
then
right- it's right next to
34
the
would be
Star.
the, what's the other part?
Dreamland.
Dreamland.
What? A lot of you just brought up a point about the place across the street from the Rockets Canteen.
Yeah, that's the
That's
Dreamland.
Dreamland Park.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great sculptures.
Cool.
I don't think we mentioned the worship center in there, which is a church along the corridor.
The worship center.
It's at 24th and Burdett.
It's by the Habitat for Humanity. It's across the street.
Oh, that's right. It's the big
This
church.
one right here, worship center.
It's on the same side of the street. It's just across the street.
Oh,
Gotcha.
that's
Right
that's a
here.
church. That's a
Right
different
here.
church.
The worship
Yes.
center is the one.
The worship center is
here.
across
Worship
from the
center.
town hall.
Between Grace and Burnett.
Oh, okay.
Where's it?
Yeah, so it's down a little bit.
That's where Habitat is.
St.
The
John.
Reverend Rome.
Yes, right there. That's it.
35 is worship center. Cool.
And then the Jesuit school.
All right. So those are all the assets. It seems like. So what are some areas that you'd like to see improvement, or like spaces where you think there could be, I'm thinking more so outdoor spaces, but of course, like if it's something like a business of some type, that works as well too. So I know you said theater earlier. Could you show me where that'd be at?
Where the old red slides? Right here. No,
Across the
the Ritz
street.
Theater, you see, right, guys?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Actually, that's right,
Yeah.
right here would be.
Yeah, that huge
Right
lot
there?
right
Right there.
All right. So theater, number one for the.
And a pizza shop.
And a pizza shop in the same place?
No.
I mean, it could be
Well,
the same
Blue
building.
Barn did it.
Yeah, exactly. Blue Barn did it.
Blue Barn.
Same place?
Yeah.
All right, so pizza shop.
All the space directly behind, behind family housing. So, where the Charles E. Washington house is.
Yeah. All
Show
of
me.
that.
Yeah.
On Grant.
So,
25th and Grant.
Yeah, I think it's like.
Isn't that
literally
great?
like
Or Lizzie
Sure.
Robinson?
Oh, gotcha.
Washington.
Use a lot.
John
Yeah,
Washington.
Lizzie Robinson, if I'm
yeah,
not
Lizzie
mistaken.
Robinson.
Yeah, that's right,
I
you're
would
right.
say the Charles E. Washington house.
Erskine.
Foods.
Right, it used to be the,
Off of 20,
So
off
it should
of
be
on Lakes,
approved?
we go to
Yeah.
Charlie Washington
So-
house. That's
Yeah.
the place
House
lots
should be
all the way
approved.
back down.
Yeah, but the name of the street is Lizzie
Number three.
Robinson.
had it.
Well, because I was like, why his house could be a museum?
Yeah, there's tons of space.
There's some rights and journalism in that area.
What about like so like some of the public spaces could just be the sidewalks, that sort of thing. Maybe I'm leading a little bit. I've noticed that they're kind of narrow, that sort of thing on 24th. Or no, is that all right?
No, they could use some enhancement in terms of widening the area, which would also promote growth for the businesses.
And repair.
And
And repair?
Yeah, I feel like just like a comment is like those stone facades along the side. I think there's a lot more space to provide.
Isn't that on purpose?
The what?
The stone facades, like where the tree spaces are? Is that
Well,
what you're talking
I'm
about?
like there's like closer when you get closer to the edge, there's like a separate. It's like a
Yeah, that tree thing.
Curbstones?
yeah. Those curbstones they feel like they take a lot of space more than they.
I was told those were put there on purpose to
Curbstones?
dispense people from congregating and having lots of people on the side. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just
Yeah.
saying that's the rationale I heard.
Makes sense. That's why I know it.
That's why. It's too narrow.
Well,
Yeah.
I know, well, why did they do it downtown? With those curves on, I hate them things.
You don't go downtown.
Doesn't make it very ADA.
Very easy.
All right. Any other ideas or like things that could be improved and could be good spaces?
Yeah, the OIC building could be improved.
Where would it be? Just show me.
I don't know.
Don't know?
We already have a lot available on 27th and Burdette for a garden, public organic garden.
When I used to volunteer in the Heart Ministry Center, I think they were talking about maybe putting something across the street because they own a lot like parallel across the street to them. So I think they were going to put something over there. I don't know if they still are, but that's what they were discussing.
Over where now?
It's like by the Heart Ministry Center. They own a lot that's across the street.
The Heart?
Heart Ministry Center. And
Sacred Heart.
So yeah, Sacred Heart School and
On
the
the
Heart
corner.
Ministry Center does all the pantries.
You see the lot at the
Okay.
corner on Lother?
So is that you want that on Locust?
What's that?
Wasn't there a gentleman here last week talking about making the OOIC part community garden and part
He was just
urban
talking.
agriculture?
Well, basically, what
Education.
he's talking about is being in conversations with Cynthia Jenkins about doing that. So it's not some. I don't think it's from the discussions that I've had with Gus. I don't think it's a done deal yet. I think from the further conversations that I've had with other people that have been speaking with her in the meantime, she's basically just trying to reform her board. So she's been asking other people to be on the board. So we're just waiting to try and see what that's going to look like and how this is all going to play out.
I would still put a yellow dot on it.
The what?
On OIC.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, and also
Where's
a
that?
Yeah,
yellow.
it's 24th and Maple, right next
Oh,
door
right,
to
yeah,
Fort Worth.
right, that.
In between my
Oh, I see this.
And then also a yellow dot on 27th and Burdette because there will be a garden there as well.
Just right off the map, but I got
That's
it.
20, that's not Burdette.
No, Burdette's back.
Burdette's-
Burdette is back here.
Burdette is across from where.
Oh, yeah, Burdette. I'm
Yeah,
tripping. I know where Burdette is.
And 27. Well, that's
Just make it number 8.
What about a playground park? Is there
27th and Burdette is the.
somewhere.
No, the only playground park is
7.
way down. It's
Burdette.
way off this grid. It's like
You know,
Coons Park, and it's
I-
like way off of this grid.
I know.
Just a playground park.
Okay,
Where
but
at?
I,
Fourth Street.
I'm not
Well,
sure.
I feel like
the worship center has a lot
Huh?
Just up
that has been earmarked for
Just one place where
a
kids.
for
okay, I
a
think down
playground.
on, it's out of the area, but still it's something that y'all could consider doing.
Pastor Brown already
It's
has
on
somewhere marked for that.
27th and Bristol, right behind the Omaha
So
houses.
that's what we
The
should be
Omaha
looking at that
houses.
for?
It's a big, huge lot over there. It's grown up in trees and weeds and stuff, and it's like down in the valley, like, and it'll be a good area for a playground park for the kids.
27th and Bristol.
Yes, and that area really needs to be taken care of badly.
I was like behind my building if y'all want to do a part
You got two
two.
what?
That's a snowball?
I'm with the cooler.
Yeah.
If y'all want to do that.
Where's your building?
That'd be
Cool.
a
24th and Willis.
Okay.
Oh,
Need a little work. We could look. We could get our minds together.
That's
oh.
better.
Yeah.
So like the park back
Let me talk to you.
on 11. Yeah.
The Carnation,
Carnation? Can you point that out for me again?
24th and Miami, between Miami and Maple, on the east side.
Gotcha. Yep. All right.
Where is that
Carnation.
at? Carnation Ballroom.
What's the idea for that spot, or is that?
For it not to fall over.
Keep it up. All right.
The other one I had was Skeets is an asset, but it needs improvement.
All right.
Yeah.
I got you.
Oh, the information on Skeets has already been purchased by a gentleman. The lawyer that owned it sold it to a gentleman out west, and he's going to turn it into something called Skeeters within the next year and a half.
Skeeters what?
I have no idea what that even is.
Skeeters and Heat.
But it's going to be called Skeeters, and it's going to
Cheaters,
be.
not
He's
cheaters.
going to be doing these improvements within the next year and a half.
Pretty good.
That was the
It's gonna be
information
fixed
that
up?
I received like about a month ago.
Or is he turning it into a Skeeter's bar?
Skeeter?
I have no idea.
It's
But
not
it's
big enough
been-
to be
but
a
it's
bar.
been
I mean,
sold.
it
Skeeter,
sounds
Skeeter
like
Barnes?
Yeah,
Have
it
you
was
ever heard
sold
of
by
Skeeter
the
Barnes?
lawyer
It's a
that-
restaurant.
Oh,
Okay.
Skeeter
Okay.
Barnes.
I hope they still have barbecue there.
Yeah.
Yeah, Skeeter Barnes is bar.
Okay.
Yeah,
Huh.
it's a chain.
You gotta go talk to them. Thanks for coming.
But I want to keep the sign up.
Yeah.
Like, can we like keep the sign of the store?
But it's, I guess that's why they say it's studio.
Yeah. So you just put the ER on the end.
All right.
So I just mentioned kind of like a workout facility for adults with the playground, like
The outdoor.
All right. Like which spot? Like you got behind Snowball location,
Yeah,
or
the same place as wherever the playground would be.
I'll put that there. So adult workout, adult playground.
Oh, and you know that there's a building that is right next door to the. It's right next door to the parking lot that is attached to the Union. That was a it was
Daycare.
Simple Simons.
Yeah.
But because they had sewer issues, they
Right.
had to close a couple of years ago, and so now
Well,
the
they just
building
left-
has
they just
been
left last
turned.
March.
I'm sorry.
They only left last March.
No, they left longer ago than that.
They-
I talked to the lady Mary Ellen that was in there.
Okay.
And they left longer ago because they had issues in the sewers, and so they turned it back over to the city, but the city doesn't even want the building
Right.
because there's some stuff going on with the building.
Mm-hmm.
So if that building, if something can happen with the sewer line and that thing can be taken care of, it's a very nice building. But right now, as of how it stands right now, it's just an empty building because of the sewer problems.
Right.
That'd be a good place for a detail shop then.
Detail
That's what
shop?
it used to be, was a car repair.
Yeah,
It was E-Tex.
right. There was a body shop before that, but yeah,
It was
that'd be a good
E-Tex
spot.
body shop before they turned it into a
For
daycare.
detail.
And it's huge.
That's probably why it has
You talking about the same building?
sewer problems, because it used to be a.
It's a red brick building.
Just right off the corner of the Union and District.
Yes.
Just east. It's a small building, right?
Yeah,
No, it's a big building.
it's a big building, but it looks small and
Right,
Just to the
right,
south.
right, the south of the
Just to
Union.
the south.
I think it's across from Titus, isn't it?
It's across the street from the snow cone place.
What about that little one that's east of the Union, on Lake East of the Union?
Showcase.
That's the showcase.
That's the bar.
That's
Is
a
that
bar.
open?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Actually.
My place.
Mike owns that, but that's this other thing.
No,
This,
that's-
I don't know who owns this.
Club 2000. That's what it is.
Club 2000.
There's a building. There's a building right up the street from
Like a retro
Conestoga
bar?
up here.
Uh-huh.
It's just, it looks empty to me. I don't think
No, that's the tile place.
that's the tile place.
Yeah, and they own those lots that you're talking about.
Oh,
I'm going
By
to say
Conestoga.
improvements to
By
Club
Con-
2000.
What's that?
Improve Club 2000.
Is that the two?
That's the two.
You know, that's kind of part of the artist law project. It goes along that
Yeah.
corridor.
Oh, that's
So
coming down.
So can we
No,
say?
it
I didn't
would
say it's
be-
coming down.
It would be
but it'll
incorporated.
We'll say improve / artist lounge.
Okay, there you go.
And also, the old Myers Funeral Home has been defunct for years.
Right.
The
Is
only
that-
thing that they use that space for is they have the cars still in the
Store
back,
the
so they
cars.
lease the cars out.
Where's that at?
It's like a block
It's right
from the
St.
Union
John's
of
Church.
Temporary Art.
Oh, gotcha. Like,
their parking lot.
So it'd be
and there's
22nd and
so like this whole lot.
Lake,
They're right on that
Let's put another
and that's an empty building that's been empty for years.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be in the former funeral.
No.
Right.
Let's make it another funeral home.
yeah, it's just improving.
There's a bunch of stuff that goes along with that, and everybody that has looked at that to try to make it a funeral home backs out in the end. So
Yeah, supposedly
there's
it's
a
going
bunch
to be
of
very
stuff that's
We
expensive
could do a
to.
haunted house there.
Right.
yeah, it's a,
Mystery Mansion makes
That's a
loads
real-
of money.
that's a real-
Actual
yeah,
haunted house.
It could
That's
be.
outside the box, Michelle.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
definitely, yeah.
Mystery Mansion makes a whole lot of money every
Yeah, they
year.
do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm thinking on the same line as you. That sounds like a good idea. The mansion,
yeah, that
mystery, yeah, whorehouse or what have you.
Haunted funeral.
Yeah.
Great nuts about Mystery Manor.
I'm a
The
pass.
local has to be paid to play the
There's
rules.
Oh, yeah.
Crazy
So
wants
we
to
on
buy
topic.
it.
What else you got?
All right, yeah, I was just letting everyone talk.
Bothered by that?
All right, so what about problem areas? What are like the problem areas? The red
You know,
dots,
ideas
things that are
out
like
there.
issues or like, you
Yeah.
know, potential dangerous areas, or does it need a lot of help where you think like maybe it's trash, it could be poor lighting, it could be like really poor streets, or just like
We
bad,
used to
I
litter
don't want to say
around
bad
the
places, but
houses,
places that need
trees
the
and
most
grown
help.
up.
Well, we have really poor streets all over Omaha, so I can't really like pick one. But the thing that bothers me the most are the abandons, because you have the issues that are where you have so many abandons where they aren't boarded up, and that's a danger to all the kids, because you have the little kids that want the little kittens, and they want to find the little kittens inside of the houses and stuff, and you don't know what the flooring is like on the inside, and these kids can fall directly into the basement. You never hear them screaming if they need help or whatever. So those are the things that I'm working on in my area. I'm constantly bugging city planning and Marty and down Land Bank or whatever to try to get the owners of these homes, or either get them condemned, whatever, if we can't find the owner. Because I don't want anybody drug into a house, a little kid drug into a house like that, and I don't want a little kid wandering into a house like that.
And they're
So,
fire hazards.
yes, and I don't want, those are the types of things. And then you have like the drug addicts that'll use those houses to go in there and do their little business in there, and those are the types of things.
I'll just put this on the top of the map, just be like abandoned buildings.
Yeah,
Alright.
because that's my issue.
Okay. Any specific areas anyone knows of that's a
Yeah,
problem?
right here on Parker, Parker, there's this lot right here, just walking by it. It's always full of glass.
Always full of glass?
I mean, you can pick any lot, it's always full of glass.
That one specifically.
Yeah.
What is going on with that house that is, oh goodness, it's back up from the barber shop is right there. There's
Oh, the
a
one right
house
next to it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that it used to be
It should be a mortuary.
yeah. It used to be a
The
mortuary
tall
house.
brick,
Yeah.
tall brick house.
With the fence around it.
So we got another home.
Now we have the owner here now. We're in the process of working on that
Oh,
now.
okay.
Oh, great.
Okay. I was just wondering what.
Because it's a really nice house.
Yeah.
What's wrong with
Great
it?
structure.
What house? Oh, there ain't nothing wrong with it.
Next to the barber shop.
Need a good business.
So
We're
business,
turning it into, it was apartments,
So it's
but
next
we
to the
turned it into
signature.
commercial now. I mean,
Further up.
Office.
Closer
instead
to
of
the barber shop.
residential, it's commercial.
Is that a C
I'm
zone?
gonna do a
Is
yellow
that
dot
commercial
thing, 'cause
zoning
then-
in?
Right.
Is that commercial zoning and houses over there?
Yeah.
How can you put a business in a housing area?
Well, it's not a housing area, it's commercial too. It's on 24th Street.
Oh,
24th Street is.
okay.
So
it's 19.
it's commercial area.
Could it be divided into offices and small businesses we put in there?
Yes, it is. It's,
That's where we're
that's what
heading,
we're
yeah.
thinking about doing.
When?
And
I'm
we,
just
as we do it, as of now, we're still working on it.
Is that the house with the fence around it, tall fence, the black fence?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I know.
Creepy. Another haunted house.
Oh, great. Museum?
It's too messed up inside.
I know it.
See, on
Yeah,
Coridoro.
that's a nice house. Nice. Could be a
Nice
nice
building.
business. Yeah, nice building.
What are you talking about?
The old Great Plains Blackfish.
Yeah.
I think
Oh no, I already.
Juanita and I went and checked out all the tripping hazards, broken up sidewalk. What else? Over like parts of the between the sidewalk and the road where maybe like a car had driven over it and kind of torn up the grass. So just like safety hazards. And you have a list of that stuff.
Yeah, I have a
don't you?
list of those, yeah.
We made it from coming to Ames and then we ran out of energy.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's going ways too, though.
Yeah.
And it started getting actually a lot.
Was there any particular spot or couple spots? that
There
stood
were a
out?
couple, right?
Yeah, there was like right out here. There is uneven sidewalk because I tripped on there walking up and down on that sidewalk. It's just adjacent.
Just right across the street?
Uh-huh.
All right.
And then on Parker, there's a lot of overgrown on the east and west, 24th and Parker.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, once
A lot
it
of
turns
just
summer, it's going to
vegetation,
get really
yeah.
good spots for kind of hiding stuff out or
Yeah,
to
so-
collect.
On the east side, you said?
Both east and west.
East and
yeah.
west, so I'll
Yeah,
do
so
5 for
yeah.
east and 6 for west.
And then what is it? When you're, it's Hamilton to Franklin. That piece, that one piece of road is really, really, really bad. Especially I bike on it all the time.
I think it'd be
And
fair to.
well, yeah, but just from Franklin north had been resurfaced recently. That one particular section was.
And
I
then
talked to my
right.
dad about it. He was like, "Yeah, that's what they did." So that would be easy.
If you're keeping a list, maybe get what Juanita has.
Right.
Yeah,
And I got
then-
your email and all that, so I'll give you.
And then in my area, when they did the CSO project, what they did was they tore up the streets from. Okay, so my area is from Lake to Benny. So from I would say from Ohio to Benny, they tore up both sides of the street. But then they never filled when they tore out the sidewalks. When they put them back in, they never filled them up. They never, you know how you fill the sidewalks up with the dirt. So when you put the grass in, it's level.
Right.
They never filled it up with dirt. So it's like it's so when you have like the concrete, and then it sinks down
Gotcha.
like it's a valley, and
There
then
might be
you can
water
break your
retention,
neck. Like you
but I
literally
gotcha.
can break your neck on it.
You
So
said Lake to Maple?
Ohio?
It's
Ohio.
like no, it doesn't do it
Ohio.
on Lake. It's like it goes from Ohio to Benny where they
Ohio
did
to
it.
Benny.
Because right at Maple, you'll see it where they had where some kind of way they made the sidewalk protrude out,
Mhm.
kind
Oh,
of
yeah,
to
the
make
bump
that.
outs, yeah.
It's weird, and then right in there, there's like it just sinks down. The sidewalk's right there, and then it just sinks down, and then they for some reason I don't know what these were, but they put these little grass things, and they just
Okay.
one here and then one here and then they just shoot up out of the dirt, and it's weird. And they did them on both sides of the street like that.
But they could have put more dirt in that area, but what they did after they put in the grass, and see they have to have the water retention to run, because they do have the sewage in some of the spots also, so it can help keep the grass growing.
Yeah, like keep the water from, like, I don't know, it's just like
Yeah.
stormwater retention as
Yeah.
opposed to like having pipes and such. That might be what it is. I still marked it down, but something to look into.
Yeah, but the way that it was done was just I don't understand that at all.
Right. You mentioned the bump outs. What do you think of those?
Hate them.
You hate them?
Yeah, it's a negative.
Hate them.
Right.
Because if you're in a low car, you can't
Yeah,
even see
you
them.
don't see it.
You don't
drive
even
over
see it. You just make a turn, and next thing you know, you're on top of a curb.
You ride your bike down that way, you run into that,
Right.
you're done. Or you
Yeah.
go out into the street and get ran over.
Right.
Or if you're in a wheelchair, how are you gonna maneuver that you're just in the street? You're already injured, so that you just in the street so you can get ran over again. Or however you got in the wheelchair in the first
I don't
place.
see the purpose of those bump outs, really.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't need them for decades, and now we got them, and they're a hazard.
Yeah,
Right.
and Miss Ella's, suggesting like a bike lane, and I I'm totally
Right,
for
exactly.
a bike
Bike lane?
Yeah.
Should I put that on here?
Yeah.
Well, because those bump outs get away with it.
You're right, exactly.
Like, if it wasn't
Bump outs.
there, then
Like
you
it
were-
doesn't make sense.
Right, man.
Those bump outs don't make
That don't make any sense.
Because they stop at a certain point too, so like
Because the buses won't even stop there. The buses like go past them, and then you have to walk from wherever the buses don't stop. You have to walk like a whole nother block because they're trying to avoid the bump outs.
Right,
So they'll stop wherever the bump outs are not.
Really?
Yeah, because they can't stop there. Because that's not, you know what I mean?
They get trapped. They
They
get
can't
trapped
pull
in there.
over.
From it.
Right, they can't get, you know how they get
They
trapped in
can't
that.
get
So they make you get off a block before or a block after, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Right.
But
You would think
Julie,
they just pull up to it so you could get out and not
No,
have to.
that doesn't
And they
happen.
have to back up.
But Julie, can you explain? Because when we went to that walkability study, didn't they talk a little bit about why we have those walkout? I mean, it's a new concept,
Yeah.
and maybe it's not fully developed, but they partially
Explain
put
it.
those ends, and it needs to be expanded on, right? Or I mean, can you talk a little bit about that?
yeah, well, it depends on the implementation. Some bump outs are meant. Sometimes if the sidewalk is too far back and there's car parking right in front of it, and a pedestrian goes out, you can't see the pedestrian because the cars are blocking that way. So a bump out is meant to keep the cars back far enough so a pedestrian can come up to the edge and still be able to see. So yeah, bump outs in a lot of ways do help, but these ones aren't placed
In the right way?
Well, they're not. Yeah, it's not as strategic
Okay.
as a lot of those bump outs are. So like I would say you'd put some of those on like 20th Street where there's a lot of street parking, and so you'd put it just on the corner to
So you just
allow.
go on the sidewalk and still
Yeah,
see past the cars.
exactly. So you can just see past the cars. But when it's much wider in a walkable district like this, you don't really need that.
No.
Yeah, so it's mostly for like the example that they showed in that walkability thing was here's a really high traffic, really wide street that has street parking along the sides. We create this bump out on the corners so people can see around the cars and people can see the people.
Well, say you want to cross like Dodge or Farnham or Hardy or Leavenworth, and the street's really wide. It also kind of gets it to where you can get across it in a minute versus having to walk so
extra
far
lane.
across 6 lanes of
Right, you're
traffic.
going to save yourself 2 lanes, one on this side, one on the other side.
Yeah.
Having a
But
bump.
this is really only 2 lanes anyway.
Right.
And you don't want to impede public transit, like that's the last thing you want to do. You're putting
Right.
a curb out, so if anything, you're trying to make it easier for people to reach public transit.
And I'm so scared that like especially when it's icy, I don't want to walk toward the bump out because I'm scared I'm gonna slip my leg down into the sewer because it opens up so wide. Like I don't want to slip and get my foot caught down in the sewer and fall back out into the street and not be able to get my leg out before a car comes because they're not gonna see me. You see what I'm saying? And it's dark out. So I will avoid that whole thing altogether and then just walk halfway the block and go down to the curb when I'm going home. So what's the point of the bump out if that's what it's for the pedestrians? And you got the thing up so high, I'm not gonna walk on it. That's ridiculous.
Elijah?
The main purpose that they use that for is to reduce traffic on the street. That's the main purpose. But they do that with the bump out primarily when it's already contemplated to let traffic flow through faster. In other words, when they want to, like they're doing on 30th Street. Those bump outs that they're putting in there is to stop the traffic because when you have 2 lanes, quite naturally you're going to go faster.
Right.
But once it gets under control, it's more cost effective to have the bump out than to move the whole street in. All they have to do is take those bump outs and push 2 lanes of traffic back in. So the main purpose is to stop traffic.
Or slow it down.
Well, same
Slow down,
difference.
stop, yeah.
That's the difference. You slow it down, it means you stop it because people are not going to go down the street if they can't move fast. All right? So that's the main purpose of the bump out. You wouldn't see that downtown.
You don't.
Okay? No, you won't because they don't want to stop traffic. So they'll tell you even in the planning department the main thing they'll say to control traffic, but it's to stop traffic for that. That's why they did 24th Street like that. There's no reason to do that because you don't have that much parking because you don't have that much business. But they did it to stop traffic flow from coming into that area. All right. So whenever they want to open it up again, all they have to do is just take those bump outs. And the reason why it slopes like that is because they don't want to have to redo the sewer lines when they take that piece out. Okay, so that's what it is. The only purpose that is for is to stop traffic. That's all.
Well, what do you think about the traffic on 24th Street? Do you think it's too fast, too slow, like
It's non-existent.
non-existent?
Well,
Right.
It's too fast past my store.
Right.
They get off on Hamilton Street and they open it up all the way to Lake Street, and then after that, with thanks to the bump outs, they slow down and it gets a lot slower pace. But from Hamilton, from Cummings to Lake Street, it's
better to have a lot of slow traffic, right?
Yeah, right.
I think a lot of that is not just the road and street design, but the fact that there's empty lots. And so because there's so many empty lots,
There's
you
nothing
have
to
really
see.
clear field of vision, you don't have big trees, and so you don't think there's a reason to stop because you see all these empty fields, you feel like you can see the other cars, so you can just safely speed up and get through it. Because there's no reason to stop anyway except for a couple small buildings with a couple small businesses that's not enough to really make a shopping district.
Right.
Yeah.
Not yet.
Not yet.
On 24th Street between Cummings and Lake, you have two entry points. You have one at Hamilton and then you have another one at Parker. Anyone coming into the area, traditionally, they could also consider Cummings, but you can't consider Cummings now because of the heavy truck traffic. That's what they're working on now as applies to 16th, all of the big commercial trucks from having to come through the area. So anyone traditionally they would get off at Cummings would turn in somewhere before you get to Hamilton. Those who get off at Hamilton, you wouldn't look for them to come down 24th, down Hamilton Lake, 24th, and they're going to go all the way to Lake Street. They usually have to go in somewhere else now. If you look at 20th Street and 19th Street between Cummings and Lake, because of the traffic patterns and the change of the residential property, those are really fast flowing streets, but there's no traffic. That's why when you come to the lights at 20th and Cummings and 19th and Cummings, those lights going north and south are almost 3 minutes in time duration. That's because they don't anticipate any traffic coming through there at all. That's all in the city planning. So the difficulty now in 24th Street is that you have people coming down Hamilton off the interstate, turning in, but they wouldn't do that if they were going into the residential area back over there. Right, but and that's because the traffic is so slow. So it's mind-boggling right now because the city hasn't released the strategy on commerce flow. They're only thinking about residential flow.
And to piggyback on something Elijah is saying over here about as far as the traffic, which is one of the reasons why they do this blinking light thing on 24th Street. They'll just do it. That for one day you'll go out there and the lights will be fine, and then the next day you'll go out and they'll just be blinking, and people will have to figure out what they're supposed to do when they get to the blinking lights. And you wonder why because it doesn't make any sense for the lights to be blinking. And it definitely doesn't make any sense for the lights to be blinking on the weekends. Okay, you can see why they would be blinking during the week, but you don't understand why the lights are blinking during the weekend.
So usually that's just to turn into a four-way stop.
Yeah.
So, slow down traffic.
Yeah, but you don't have. But like he said, if the traffic is non-existent, why are you having these blinking lights?
Well,
You see what I'm saying?
it can be I will say it can be beneficial because what happens is if you do slow down traffic, or you do stop traffic at that intersection, people will spend more time and they can observe the businesses that are there.
Actually, the city is covering themselves because there are more accidents in a non-flowing area when a light is red. No, when a light is blinking, there's less accidents.
Okay.
Because it almost like a freeway, except you have caution. When it turns to green or it turns to red, people that come up and stop, they don't want to sit there 3 hours waiting to go across the way when there ain't no cars around, so they just take off and go.
Right.
Okay, but that causes accidents because they don't always look all the time when they do it. They just come up, look at it, and gone. So they use the blinking light to almost make it like both sides are green lights. People will come up and slow up and look around, and then they'll go head on and go.
Gotcha.
But doesn't that create a opportunity for a safety risk and liability on the city when there's inconsistency on when those lights would be blinking versus when
I
they
can't
are?
answer that right now because I'm just here for my
I'm just saying.
project, but that's a good question. Maybe we should have some from city planning.
But I prefer a blinking light.
I think I would suggest a study should take
Yeah.
place on that.
It should, because I witnessed 2 accidents at that light while it was blinking because people didn't understand what they were supposed to do there. And I was standing at both times. I was standing inside Love Jazz, and these people just flew through the light because they're thinking it's like it's red and yellow, and they got time to go through the light, and they hit these people on the other side. So it's like you don't know what you're supposed to do with that light because you don't know why that light's blinking or what it's doing. Yeah, so they
You don't want
need
to hear
to
my
figure
idea.
it out.
My idea would be turn into a roundabout, but you.
Yeah, so I'm just saying. There's a lot of stuff that's just going on in that area that's inconsistent.
All right, well, we got all these. Is there like a few last little things?
I
I know
have
we're.
one.
What's that?
And I don't know what color sticker it should be, but in the northeast, it's called the New North neighborhood. They have like maybe 10th and Izzard, 13th and Izzard. They have a lot of buildings, and I don't know if it's a bunch of retired Kiewit guys or what, that bought a bunch of them up and want to get like a maker village started over there. And so they will provide very low rent, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a 5-year lease. It could be like a 1-year lease or a 2-year lease. And a lot of the businesses are expected to possibly fail, but maybe not fail horribly, but just like, they tried and the rent was low, so they didn't go bankrupt or anything. It just didn't work out for them.
Right.
There's a lot of buildings in the area right around 24th and Lake that have been fixed up either by the city or by philanthropy, benefactors to the area, that are empty. The corner of the Union is empty, and there's the OEDC building that looks empty. And what would be the harm in just having some type of contest or some type of, write up your small business plan, and why can't you just go in there for a year or two just to have it active?
I think that's a great idea.
Why can't we incubate here?
I think that's a really good idea. So like, I'll say like from Lake to Burnett type of thing, like yellow, like opportunity.
Well, any of these that are for lease that don't even have a for lease sign because they're trying to find a buddy to go in there, like let anybody try to give them a 1 or 2 year lease, and if they're successful, they can pay a market rate in one of the
Or just have like
established.
incubator spaces.
Use them as incubator spaces until a market solution can be found.
Gotcha.
There's an issue that I'm particularly concerned about that occurred. The information was given out Saturday at the Empowerment Network. They gave an overall violence in the community report from the police department and all the investigation. And one of the statistics that was done in conjunction with an organization called U-Turn, with the city worked with them as far as developing the survey to gather these statistics, is that the level of, when I say criminal activity, that would be activity that had cause for the police to be involved. The level of activity was centralized between Fort and Hamilton, 42nd to 24th. And when I asked the question why wasn't 16th involved, because that means that the area east of 24th and 16th, which would be actually the edge of the city, statistically is showing not enough violence to be registered. Because in the survey, the numbers of activities that were identified by the police department and those others who were involved in criminal activity wasn't large enough to be considered. to me, that's very, very ironic. Because living in that area and knowing just nighttime hearing shots and other kinds of activities, and how many times the police themselves are heavily involved in activities like on 20th Street and all around in that area. For them at this particular time, particularly as it applies to the community block grant surveys and all the other, to identify that that particular area between 16th East is not identified as a area that is worth looking at as far as criminal activity is an oxymoron. You know what I'm saying? One, it enhances the area's real estate value because it won't be identified as a troublesome area. And two, any kinds of developmental activity or any other kinds of activity that would cause for it to be enhanced wouldn't qualify. In other words, if you were concerned about lighting conditions in your area because you're concerned about criminal activity or whatever, they can show statistically that we have to concentrate our money in other kinds of areas before we do that because we're not reading a high value. And see, that I think that's a very serious matter that needs to be identified.
Accurate map of this, or
well, I asked one of the people at U-Turn. I didn't ask the city because I know what they usually say. I asked one of the people at U-Turn why, and they said because they didn't have enough revenue to do the kind of survey that they wanted to canvass that area in the way they needed to do to get an accurate reading.
Okay. Are you saying like from 16th East, it's not enough violence?
From according to this report that was given by the city of Omaha in a police violence committee, this was last Saturday, and I got it on tape. There's not enough identified, recorded violent activity between 16th and 24th, which would actually be Ames to Hamilton, and in this case it would be like what's that? Which one door am I? Kellum? Is it?
Paul? Yeah.
Let's just say Cummings. Cummings. There's not enough criminal activity that is identified by the authorities between 16th and 24th, Ames to Cummings, to put it on record.
Okay.
So is this good or bad? What are the consequences of that?
I think that is good because it's not enough violence from 24th back that way as it is from 24th this way. Because I know it was a violence down on about 20th Street this summer with the kids shooting. So
I live on 19th and Sprague, and there's very seldom a week that goes by that we don't hear automatic weapons fire. All right, and that the police are not constantly blocking off streets, dealing with activities, particularly between Pinckney and, let's just say, Bristol.
And
okay.
And what he's saying is true because I live on 20th and Maple, and there was a murder around the corner from me, and over on 16th and Yates there was 3 murders, and they found 2 people dead in the van. So that's not true. What they're saying is not correct.
That's what I'm concerned about. The city.
Talking about is not true.
The city's purpose is to identify that residentially wise as a good place to invest and move in, all those kind of things. The only thing that would placate that is documentation that real estate people or whatever would have in their hands to discourage people from moving into a certain area. They won't have any documentation that would show the amount of crime. And it's just, at the same meeting, I put this up a little bit off camera, but to give you a better idea of what happened. At this particular meeting, which is held at North High by the Empowerment Network, a presentation that was solely based upon the violence in North Omaha community, and all the statistics was very general. One lady asked, how come you're not identifying the ethnicity in these data? And he said, oh, would you like, this is the police chief. He said, oh, would you like that information? Now here it is in North High School, put on by the largest organization that deals with African Americans. In fact, their name is African American Empowerment Network. They just use Empowerment Network now. Why would you come and give that kind of documentation about the violence in the overall community and not break it down ethnicity? When she asked him about it, he said, "Oh, would you like that information? I'll get it for you," and walked off.
Or wouldn't it be because of they trying to get the business to come into this area? Why they not giving that particular information? Because we need the business in here. And when people hear about all the violence and stuff in the area, then they are not going to want to come in.
You're absolutely correct. So, that's exactly the reason.
What's the criteria they're using? When they say there's not enough to register, what is enough to register? What is the criteria they're using?
They don't give that data.
So if we have 10 murders in a certain geographic space, in comparison to what? I don't know what the criteria is.
First of all, they did it on a survey where actually they must have had to go into the neighborhood and get the information. The lady at U-Point told me that they didn't have enough revenue to get enough people to do the surveying to canvass the area the way that it should be canvassed. She said that herself. All right.
But I'm still wondering what is considered enough violence. I don't have enough information here. If they're talking about, say we have 10 murders in a so many square block area, and they're comparing us to Chicago, yes, we don't have enough.
So I think Elijah's point is more that what could possibly be going on is
underreporting.
People are wanting to tilt the information so that 16th and 20th gets gentrified sooner and people get displaced there. Right. It's not.
Very good use of the word.
But they have to come with more information, though. They can't just say there's not enough here. What is enough? What are the parameters?
I'm working with the county on a program called the Disproportionate Minority Contact, where there's a disproportionate number of youth that are being implemented into the system. One of the largest difficulties that everyone is having internally is the police department releasing data information.
Yeah.
They've had 2 data individuals that were hired by the county to do the data for the county as it applies to this area that have quit because they can't work under the circumstances where they cannot get the proper data.
Okay. Now, all of that is good information, but let's table that because we have a second speaker here.
Yeah. But thank you.
All right.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Yeah, I'm gonna do like I do my kids. I teach art classes. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello, Mr. Rogers. Okay, my name is Ariane Williams, and I am an artist, and I'm going to start this off with a game. I want everybody right now to think of your favorite movie. Okay? Your favorite movie. This is fun. You don't have to think about who's asking the question, where we are. Just think about your favorite movie, and we're going to go around the room. Start with your favorite movie.
Yeah.
I couldn't hear any of that.
Black Panther.
Yeah. Braveheart. You said he can't hear.
The Associate.
Life is like a bowl of cherries. What's that?
Miss Ella,
Huh?
what's your favorite movie?
Forrest Gump.
Forrest Gump. Forrest Gump.
Forrest Gump. What's your favorite movie?
I don't even know how to watch movies.
Let me come back
Anytime.
to me. Let me come back to that. That's a good one.
Go on with the win, yeah.
Going with the win. Miss Sanders.
Panther.
Panther. Okay. Brother. Sir?
Elijah.
Roots.
Roots.
Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings. Man on Fire. Man on Fire. Mean Girls.
Titanic.
Titanic.
Legends of the Fall.
Legends of the Fall. Star Wars. The Wiz. Okay. The one thing that all of these things have in common is art. That is what combines us. That is what makes us human. Okay, so whether it's race, religion, no matter what, we all have a favorite movie. Okay? So that's going to be my first point. Keep that in mind because I'm going somewhere with this. There is a problem that we are not addressing. There is a prejudice that goes on in the United States that we're afraid to speak of. I resemble the identity of this, so I deal with it every day. Young black men. We are afraid of them. They're dangerous. That's what we think. We don't say it, but they're talking about the killings. That's what they're talking about. They're not talking about young black girls. They're not talking about white boys. They're not talking about Mexicans. They're talking about me. And that hurts.
Amen.
Because I strive every damn day to make a better place out of America. And they treat me as if I carry an AK-47 everywhere I go. As if I have not graduated high school, as if I got 10 baby mamas and they don't even know me.
Automatic.
I can't cry in public, otherwise I'm crazy or irrational or emotionally unstable. I'm 6'7". I'm a super predator, as they say. I've tried to shake hands with a police officer in a situation I did not start. I was handcuffed, thrown in jail, did not get to see a judge till 3 days later. So, we're going to talk about black males. I'm from Gary, Indiana.
Uh-oh.
We were murder capital.
Lucky to be alive.
3 years in a row. So when they talk about a crime rate in the neighborhood, you find 2 dead bodies in 1 year. That was every night. I grew up washing dishes, feeling like bullet shots would come through my window. I did not believe I would make it. That's not a sob story, it's just the way it is. Okay? I was no traditional student. Never have been, never will be. Young black males aren't. You have a small percentage of them that are disciplined enough and come from good families to teach them how to do what needs to be done, even if the family doesn't agree with it. They teach them how to get along. But the majority of us do not have discipline. We are unstructured. They try to label us at an early age as either problem kids or retarded. Literally, I'm using the word retarded because that's how they tried to describe it to my mother when I was in elementary school. My mom was a teacher. I embarrassed her every day because I did not get this, okay? They just killed my friend. What does this rock got to do with anything? How does Stardust help me today? I made straight F's the first 3 years of high school. Went to school every day. Everybody knew my mom. She tried everything she could. I come up with the best lies. I could have been writing stories since back then. She wanted to believe me, so she did. I've made a fool of her several times. Calling my family, getting Ariana finally did it, girl. He said he made straight A's. Lying through my teeth. Couldn't bear to deal with the embarrassment that I don't know how to do this way. I'm not stupid. I can retain the knowledge, but I don't get it. I like to draw. I like to paint. I like to sing. I like to dance. Why can't we do that in class? Why we got to do all of this other stuff? They never related to me. And that hurt because every time there was a problem, I was the center. I'm not playing the victim because I've been the victim so many times. I've had thousands of people scream my name in several different countries. I got murals that people ain't never even thought about having of themselves. So ain't no sob story here, but I know the truth. And I'm not going to hide it. I was no traditional student, never have been, never will. I was creative-minded, as I call it. Teacher would be in class giving a lecture. I'd be sitting there drawing. I had one teacher in the 3rd grade when I really knew I could draw. Teacher was teaching and she was walking around the desk and she seen that I was drawing. She got so much. She said, Ariana, wow, that is out of sight. She took time to acknowledge my art rather than punish me. That meant the world to me because I knew I was going to get in trouble. I did not care. I had a hard time with boringness. I wasn't going to, look, I have an imagination a mile long. I cannot sit here and play with you on something that does not entertain me, and they're paying you. to be able to communicate with me. I'm willing, I'm here. So I've always struggled with that. Even now when things get off topic, I mean, I'm boiling. I don't know what's wrong with me. I mean, like, okay, I gotta get up, I gotta do something, I gotta, you know, and I'm working on that. But I think that's what God made me an artist, because he doesn't want me in some building where people need me to be born.
Don't keep it to yourself.
Being the oddball. I'm getting to a point with this. I just want you guys to know. Being the oddball. I was always told that I wasn't black, even as dark as I am, by the kids I grew up with, because I didn't believe in guns, I didn't believe in, you know, gangs. I wanted to do karate, and, you know, I wanted to do drawings, and I was always alone. So I never was like really that traditional Gary, Indiana kid. But at the same time, in class, I wasn't a traditional student. So there was never a place for me. I had to be creative. I had to find my way. I had to find what it is that made me stand out. There was no program to mentor me into being, you know, unique. There was nothing, you know. I had to basically figure out what I was doing. What's going on, folks? How y'all doing?
Hey, how you doing?
Good. I basically had to find my way. And even still today, I have this constant fight with society. Of how am I supposed to dress? How am I supposed to talk?
Yes.
How am I supposed to wear my hair and my beard? And it's just these constant struggles that I fight with every day. Yeah, you gotta be yourself. At the same time, you gotta eat. You got kids. You need to be able to pay the bills. You got all of these things. So it's like this constant back and forth. And then you got the other side that's saying, hey, Gary, you're supposed to be hard. You're supposed to be strong. Ain't nothing supposed to bother you. You're supposed to be able to check anybody that comes in your way. So you just got these constant pulls of these different groups. And it's like, it's tough. There are many like me. Many people deal with the same thing. A lot of them. They live in this neighborhood. They're not traditional students. They're creative minded. They have a hard time dealing with boring. How do I know? Because I've been teaching them for the last 12 years. I work for Girls Inc., North Star, Wesley House, Wise Kids. Right now, I have Y Arts. I got 4 different schools. I went from 2 schools last year to 4 simply because there was such a demand for black male teachers to teach art. Come on, man. I had to take 4 schools. You know how crazy this is driving me to go from this place to that place to this place, carrying iPads, markers, pens, papers, just so they get their little dose of being able to do what they want to do. Or even believe they can do something. They got a program at Blackburn. We've been fighting for funding. Me and Michelle Troxton. Just for them to be able to understand creative writing. We've been working that program for 3 years. This is the first year we've been able to get them to write anything. One boy told me in the first year, he said, if you can't bring my brother back, ain't nothing you can tell. Do you know how it feels to hear a 16-year-old boy tell you, as a teacher, that the only thing that will make me do anything is to bring my brother back? That's where we at.
Thank you so much. It's meeting.
And I look like them. So I can't play like I'm not one of them. And I'm not pretty. I'm pretty. I mean, you know, I'm traumatized. I've seen so much stuff. I've lost so many friends. I've traveled around the world. I've been living this life. I can't fake it. So at this point, what we have to do is support our best and brightest artists in this neighborhood. Because that will give another path. Try to stay on my points, because I don't usually do the point thing. Okay. Support our best and brightest. I wrote that down. Support our best and brightest youngest. Support our best and brightest young black artists and honor our past heroes through art that will create commerce. Because it's alchemy. We have been a people who have created something out of nothing. Amen. Since the beginning of time. Okay? We need to own that on 24th Street. We have to own that. Because there is no community that has more artists than us. None. I will put a contest out today against Benson, Dundee, All of them. I guarantee you, if we got behind it and with each other and the history that we have, it would be the strongest fucking thing this country has seen. I'm so sorry for cursing, but it's the truth. I'm not from Omaha, but I've been here for 15 years. It changed my life. Musicians. We have tons of musicians that are doing their thing. No place on 24th Street for them to perform. Jesse's is 30 and over. You quit by the time you're 25 with no success. There is no venues. That's horrible. It's worse than horrible. It's oppressive.
Genocidal.
Today, I went and counted 21 walls that could either have a mural, a banner, or art installed. 21 on 24th Street alone. Talk about exhausted. 21. That's just from Cummings to Lake Street. There are only 2 black muralists in town that are actually doing something. Me and Gerard Buffon. How many murals do we got in North Omaha? Maybe about, let's say, if we count everything, I want to say between me and Gerard, he probably got most of them. 34, I got 4. But the point is, 24th Street used to be this district that supported the arts. There's no mural of Preston Love on the street. People would come from all over the world just to see the mural of Preston Love. They loved him, just in case people don't know. Malcolm X is still celebrated around the world. I'm from Gary, Indiana. I knew Malcolm X since the time I was 5. Omaha don't honor him at all. But we can put a Waddy White mural up. We can put all of these bent up little pieces of art downtown and it gets mad news coverage. But North Omaha can't promote their heroes. We got Mike McGee, you got Preston Love, you got Bob Gibson, you got all of these people that could be erected through murals. And there's 21 walls. But y'all want to put $1 million into the baseball stadium and say y'all helping black people? Stop. We got to fix 24th Street in order for our community to rise back up, because that's where the help is going to come. I'm going to try to stick back to this list. I'm going to wrap it up right here, but I'm sorry, that whole black talk with the kids get killed, it just really got to me, because I'm constantly fighting when they're trying to say that all black men are this way, all black men are that way. And there are people who believe this, and I don't think there's anybody like that in this room. But we got to take advantage of our art, man, because that's the only thing where we can control our image.
So let me ask you a question then. Okay, so I'm not sure if you're aware, but 24th Street is made a historical district. So how does that affect the fact that you would like to erect these murals on these walls?
Well, this is not what
that is.
This is what I'm saying. Me personally, I got a contract with HBO. I don't have to erect these murals. Literally, I'm 31 years old. I'm still able-bodied, thank God, and I got a resume behind it. I don't need this. I want this. I want to do this with Omaha. I want to. But like I said, I've lived in different countries. I got friends in different cities, and they're begging me to come there. I got people in Atlanta that's just area, and you need to get in a bigger art market. But I've been helping build this community for so long. I haven't gotten the credit that I feel is due. There are people around me that I feel like need the same thing. There are people who could be honored in Omaha who still have not been honored, and I want to be a part of that movement if Omaha is to go this way upward.
Can I help address this too? Every single community revitalization project in every other major city has started with its arts community. This is one of the only ones that did not. We started with housing, then we went to commercial development. We're talking about jobs where, you know, they put in the call center, and that's all well and good, but every single artist is a small business.
And that's leading to my next point, and I'm going to end it out with this one. Thank you guys for listening. I'm just going to say, through the murals, it will transform communities through color and beauty. Even if it's trash everywhere, I hate to say it that way, we got all of these abandoned spaces. We get our best and brightest artists to do some of the best murals, and we pay them. For one, we create an avenue for artists. And we pay them. For one, we create a better avenue for muralists. Two, we are able to literally instantly beautify our neighborhood with our own icons. No one else in the world has these icons but Omaha. I shouldn't have to be the one talking about this. I wasn't born here. There should have been an artist who had this opportunity like your brother, long ago.
These
But-
are historical figures.
And they
What's
need
more
to-
historical than celebrating a historical district and putting historical heroes, commemorating them?
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
you tried.
Yes, sir. So with that, with beautifying the neighborhood through color and beauty, it will help the writers. We got bomb writers, brother right here. Like what he's about to do needs our first support. He's about to start a new paper that's going to be talking about what we're doing as a community, and I'm not even going to speak on it because I'm going to let him do it. But he's a part of this new collaborative we have on 24th Street. At the old Union Building, we're calling it the Unity House, as well as the old Salem Pantry, we're calling it the Study. So we got a lot of projects going on, and Manny is doing his part to make sure that everybody's coming together, Elijah, Michelle, myself. And it's just coming to a point to where we're having to do this. We're having to do this because it's not being done for us. Thank God for people like Terry Sanders and Mike Maroney and Annette over at the OEDC. They've been listening to us. They've opened the buildings up to us. And we're really trying to push this mural district. We're trying to push this new media source. We're trying to push so many different brands of art to create an art community so we can live here, make some good money, go do other art projects in New York City, California, and come back to North Omaha. We don't want to have to not come back here because Gary's, I'm trying to go there to redevelop Gary, but I'm like, I hate to say it, Superman, my home is gone. Like Gary, I just can't go back right now. Videographers, photographers, these type of things, writers as well, poets, musicians, performers, actors. This will bring in the media. The media will start to cover all of this culture that's going on 24th Street. What's going on? They have chicken wings and playing loud music, rims everywhere. You know, that's what we do. You know, it's culture. That brings in more traffic. That brings in tourists, which will bring in more opportunities for local artists. Which brings me to my final point, which will inspire more youth arts programs. That will allow our kids the creative outlet and expression that they need so they're not bottled up and turn into a life of crime because they feel it's hopeless. Nobody's listening to them. And they're yelling at a room full of people with nice suits and shoes on the wall. You know, we don't want that. We want them to have more control over themselves and not have to deal with the same traumas that I have to. I wish I could come to you guys and be in a suit and be all pretty, but that's just not my story.
Not yet.
Not yet.
He's like, I got you.
So, once again, my name is Ariel Lawrence Williams. Everybody calls me Bird. You see me in the neighborhood, you can call me Bird. I am the creator of the Terrence Crawford mural at Miller Park Elementary School, 16 feet tall. You got a schedule to get into it, but it has a contract with HBO. It's my biggest piece. Also, I am the painter of the Houston Alexander mural at Conestoga and a co-painter of the Love mural with the Honorable Say Adams, which was painted behind the Love Jazz. I would like to be one of the lead artists, and we're pushing for this project for the Mural District on 24th Street, so we hope for your support. Thank you, Emmanuel Cook, to Mr. LaFleur, of course, the LaFleur family, and that's my time. You guys have a great day.
All right, thank you.
All right, and how much time do we have left?
You're 5 over.
Oh, we're 5 over. Did you have?
Yeah,
can we give you like maybe 2-3 minutes to
Yeah,
give us
just
something
really quick.
about where you're at
It's-
right now and what you're
It's
doing?
a really big day. I'm like, okay, I've been crying all weekend for really good reasons. So today I'll be launching Noise, which is North Omaha Information Support Everyone. Took off the ING, decided. But Noise is a project that is came out of the the information ecosystem assessment that we talked about sometime last year, and there was a grant put out, and I applied for it and received the grant. We getting it this week because I got to pay my bills. But from there, I'm working with Star and 101.3, and also putting together my own team to. We'll have a monthly print publication that will go alongside the Star, as well as have its own individual print, and then we'll also be on social media and doing some digest work for 101.3 so they can have their own local news to report. And essentially it's just get out, ask people where they get their information, how they like to get it, and the best way to get it to them, and then hire videographers, artists, illustrators, graphic designers, creators to make something that people want to pick up and read and look at and hold and keep in their minds. And if the more people have information that they can use, the more that they can do. After working at the union and trying to be like, hey, come see art, come participate in this, come enjoy all these things that we have, and you can talk to people and they're like, I have all these other needs. I'm trying to feed myself and my kids like basic things, and you want me to come to art opening on Friday night? Like, I don't know. And it's bougie and you got all these white people in here. What do you want me to do? No. And so but in order to break that, people need an information flow they can tap into and rely on. And so that's what we're trying to do. And so it's kind of fitting that we'll be in the old Union building. Yeah, we're just getting started today. So I'm meeting at Malcolm X Foundation today with Phyllis and John Houston from the Reader and Joanna LaFleur and a bunch of folks. And we'll be putting out our formal, I've made the Facebook and Instagram, and I'll be like pushing that forward. But we'll be doing a recruitment over the next 2 weeks to get a team together, and then just hit the ground running from there.
You're in the Union building?
The old one. So the St. Martin DePore Center.
Right here.
Right on this. Yeah, right behind Fair Deal.
You're not with them anymore?
No, I left the union to do this.
Can I have?
Yeah.
Monty, can I have a few minutes?
Officially our meeting is over. I would like to say thank you all for coming. Your information that you brought to this assembly was very impactful, very useful. This alliance plan to talk to you individually, follow up, and perhaps utilize some of your services. You can count on that. Again, thank you very much, and I'm going to end the meeting. Elijah has something to say.
Thank you.
First of all, brother, I really appreciate your presentation.
Thank you.
I've been involved in this community since the 50s. I've always been a tremendous appreciator of music and that art, which is kind of somewhat foundation. But in that, people that are in the arts field usually culminate together so they get around with music. The feelings that you are expressing, there hasn't been anyone that has really expressed it that way since Charlie Washington. He was a writer. And he was very frustrated about the inability of artists to be significant. And he's the one that always expressed, probably because he was a writer, that art's not art unless it tells the true history. All right?
What was his name?
Charlie Washington. Yeah, he was. He worked for the Omaha Star. He was an independent, one of the foundations of the Urban League, but he was a community advocate, very strong. And he was kind of the one that kind of held the art piece together. But most, like I said, was through writing. No one outside of Miss Bunning, but because she was always involved within the administrational piece, she always had to be very strategic. Thank you. In her presentation, she was here 2 weeks ago.
Yes,
she was 2 months ago. 2 months ago, and if you would have been here, you'd have been able to read into what she was saying, as it applies to her building. She was the representative of this area from the Nebraska Arts Council for years and has a long background in this area. But what you expressed is frustration. I know that a lot of the artists here can't even find venues to do what they need to do in this area, so they have to go downtown and they have to go everywhere else but here. That is by design. Okay? When they first tried to identify this corridor as the cultural piece, the first thing that they did is they put up a saxophone. And they use it as the arts, jazz as the arts center. We as a people didn't play jazz for our entertainment. We played to European audiences We played blues and we played what do you call it? Rhythm and blues and those kinds of things. But because they improvised so well, that's where the term the jazz piece came through, because it was improvised. When they first identified this area, whoever wanted to stamp it as a cultural center, they used it as the jazz center. And that locked it down in a very small cubbyhole. In order for you to get out what you need to get out, you got to be as specific as you were in this, because it is by design that they do not want this area to exemplify its culture, because in everywhere else our culture is based upon our captivity, and we have to be creative in order to get that out, our frustrations. Okay, jazz was played in this area because all the people who would come here stopping over because it was a railroad center couldn't have a hotel downtown where the railroad tracks were. They couldn't do that. They had to come into this area because this is the only area, because it was segregated, that they could stay. So that's how it became the jazz center. All right, you can't be less than an hour away from Kansas City, because Kansas City played much more jazz than what they play here. But because the railroad line stopped here, they all came here and they stayed here overnight, and that's how it grew to be what it was. So your frustration hasn't been expressed in a long time. You've done it very well. You need to keep doing that, because as they talk about culture, they're misinterpreting. That's why I was glad to hear the brothers not with, because we don't have any. If you look at how they set up arts things in this area, none of them have been controlled by us. None of them. And they won't be controlled by us, because you will tell the truth in your art, and they can't afford to have the truth be told.
But, doing all, the way I feel, doing all black art in this area, to me, is somewhat segregating the area. We need both art in the area.
Why?
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 Number one reason, a long time ago, the area out here was Jews, I understand.
Jews are black.
And blacks.
Jews are black. They're not Jews. Judaism is not a nationality, it's a religion. They were Hebrews. Hebrews were black.
Whoever was out here before all the blacks moved out here.
Hebrews, and they were put in this area, Miss Willis, they were put in this area because they were black, because they were Hebrews. They were the first to move in this area in 1913 because there was a segregation laws that did not allow them to live anywhere else. So they had to live here. They are black.
Well, maybe they are black.
They are black, maybe to it.
Doing all black
people. And this is why I think
I want beauty in the area.
Yeah, and
I
I think
want people in the area that have did great things in the area. Because that way, if we do it like that, we are going back to the 1930s and 1940s.
They do it in their area, and they don't go backwards.
Can I say something here? The problem is that white people's art is all over the rest
all
of
over.
It's depriving the area by putting.
Thank you.
We already have
us
too
not having
much.
any space.
And this is the thing.
We have been inundated with white people's art, and they get all the funding, they get all the money, they get all the spaces, and we don't have any access to these spaces. We don't know enough about the networks to even get involved in it to find out what these projects are. And yes, but we have to be able to make sure that our art is strong and out there in the world first, and then we can start bringing some of theirs in. We have to do ours first, because I've worked in the arts community a long time.
And the minute they put one in here,
yes,
it'll be, they're going to take it. They're going to take it. We cannot afford to let them, because, look, why can't we have a community? Why do we always, look, we've come from slaves. We're just trying to have a little culture like everybody. We just want to have ours. And in North Omaha, that's black community. 24th Street, we've had 40 jazz musicians that have come from this area, that are international. International. We don't even honor Preston Love. Okay, I hear what Miss Ellis saying. Miss Ellis saying, we ain't got to do all of these black murals. But for me personally, as a young black male, and me taking a stance on empowering young black males through imagery, I want to see more black heroes erected so we can show them you can follow Bob Gibson. You can be like Mike McGee. You can be like Preston Love. Who is Preston Love? Now we get to teach our babies who this big mural is.
Right.
So I understand your point that there needs to be some areas where there are flowers, where there's beauty. It does not have to be all black.
Yeah.
And Miss Ella, without you, and to be honest, I mean, and no offense, but even just going off of what you said, it's very important to even know your history in North Omaha, and know that the Jews that were living here were Hebraic Jews, and that those were black people. So you need to know. So just putting those types of people on the mural and being able to explain what the history of North Omaha is, and what it should be going forward into the future. You need to be able that needs to be visually explained. So when people are coming into North Omaha, that's what that's what tourism is all about.
Wow.
People need to come into North Omaha from anywhere and be able to say, oh, this is what North Omaha, this is where North Omaha came from. This is this is how North Omaha was built, and this is who North Omaha was built by and on the shoulders of, and this is what North Omaha is. No, it doesn't matter who lives in North Omaha now. This is who built North Omaha, and that's where the artwork and should be reflective of that.
I think highlighting black culture is a stronger tourism draw. It's more distinctive.
Black celebrities from Omaha.
It's a reason to come here versus just watering it down and making it like any other district.
Even
the
white
tourism
people will
side,
come here for that.
yeah, I think as long as everybody feels welcome and safe, that there's a unique, compelling story that is not being told here.
But to speak to what your concerns is, Ms. Ellen, when you go down on 24th South Omaha and 24th and Benton, that is a rich Hispanic area. Do you feel that there's a way for white to be shown there? Do you feel this compelling argument that you have to be against what's being spoke here when you look at that? Because I'm thinking I'm in agreement with everyone in terms of what they've already said, because we have a lot of young African American individuals, period, in Omaha that are young and looking at crime as an opportunity. And if these murals is something that would project something positive that would steer them in a different direction, wouldn't you want to be a part of that?
And let me make this one point. Why do we even have to come down to the murals? It's an act of desperation. We have to put up big monuments in order to inspire our young boys just because of how deprived they are of imagery. That's the saddest part about it all. This shouldn't even be an argument. We shouldn't need these murals.
No.
But the fact is, this is what they pushed us to. And it may not work. So that's the truth. But the question is, are they on our side or not? That's my whole question. Are y'all, because erecting these murals, getting all of this traffic going, that's not even a real problem. The problem is Tulsa, Oklahoma. What happens when it works?
That's right, amen.
What do they do then? Do they come and splatter our murals and burn this shit to the ground because they hate us? Do they really hate us? That's the question.
Who's that?
They're gonna stop you before you get to. They're stopping you before you get ready to do that because they don't want to be. They don't want to go to that anymore. But they will.
Black Wall Street to the ground because they were successful Black Wall Street. That's what he's referring to.
So that's the scary part about this, that this could cost us our lives.
That's right.
That's real. That's not even imaginary. That's how dangerous this is. But we're still trying to do it for these kids because we can't keep letting them punk us, push us down, and make us think that we're nothing because we're teaching our kids they ain't shit, and it's working.
Well, we can't wait.
I'm
for
not
the
directing
next
this towards
Wakanda.
you. I'm sorry.
No, I'm not hearing that.
Yeah.
Well, we can't,
I'm sorry.
and you know, we can't wait for the next Wakanda forever. You know what I'm saying? We can't wait.
Because
We
the movie
can't.
goes off.
Yeah, because the movie's over. We can't wait until the next credits roll. You know what I'm saying? For
got
us
me on
to
that. Can
feel,
I get that?
yeah, until
Man.
we take a whole 200. What the star took 244 kids to see the movie. We can't wait till the next movie. You see what I'm saying? We have to be, you know, my sister used to say, you can't be the co-star in somebody else's life story. You have to be the star of your own. So we have to build our own stories here, and that's really all this is about. Is being the star of our own.
Hey!
Amen.
I guess Tanya has ended